You're now watching No Shelf Control with the one and only Shannon.
Hi, this is Shannon from No Shelf Control. Thank you for joining me on my channel tonight. Whether this is your first time here or you are back joining me again, I really appreciate it and I'm glad to have you. I hope you will like and subscribe to the channel. That always helps me a great deal and I really appreciate it. This evening I have two books I want to talk to you about. I finished them this week and I'm excited to discuss them. They were both on my January TBR list, and so both on my January TBR video. I have one that I would consider a 3-star read and the second one that I would consider a 4-star read. So let's talk about both of those. The first one is The Book Lover by Marianne McFadden. This book came to me as a Goodreads giveaway, and it came with a little note and it was signed and it said, I hope you love this book as much as I do. And I was really excited. It's a book about bookstores. And so has a pretty cover with the bookstore on the front, and it's all about independent publishing. And I really, really wanted to love it. And in some ways I did. That's why I'm willing to give it a 3-star review. The book has a lot of winning points. It's a quiet, sort of slow-moving story about two women who meet. One owns a bookstore, one is a writer, and circumstances bring them together, and you sort of get to watch what unfolds, and you learn a lot about the publishing industry and a lot about independent booksellers. Now, I loved that part. I loved learning about what goes into publishing your own book. I learned a lot about independent bookstores and the stress that's involved in that. I've always wanted to own a bookstore. Actually, 5 years ago, I thought I was going to open one, but that didn't happen. But I swear when I retire or become independently wealthy, I'm going to open an independent bookstore. So this book was right up my alley when it came to topic. Unfortunately, Marianne McFadden chooses to put a lot of different storylines into this book. So there are things about PTSD in the military. There's a storyline about infidelity in the community. There's a storyline about the bookseller's relationship with her mom. There's an affair that occurs. There's, every single potential storyline that you can think of is in this book. And I'm not sure whether McFadden thought, well, if I cover all this stuff, then it's bound to appeal, to a mass audience. When in fact, or if she just thought, this is the only book I'm ever going to get to write, I'm going to put everything in it I can think of. What I really wanted to know was what was going to happen with Ruth and with Lucy. Ruth is the bookseller, Lucy is the writer, and their lives are intertwining throughout this story. There's going to be some conflict between them. There's ultimately, a resolution that comes at the end, and that was the part of the story I really cared about. But there were all of these other tangents that were happening. There's a raptor center where wounded birds are brought back into a facility and rehabilitated, and how that fits with the story of a wounded military person within the book, and how his rehabilitation and the rehabilitation of these birds sort of, fit together. But it was, one more story inside this book where all of these different stories were happening. And it wasn't that I couldn't keep up. I kept up just fine. I just didn't need to have all of those different tangents happening. So while I enjoyed the heart of the story and probably could have enjoyed it more if it had stayed a little bit focused, I found myself slightly annoyed that we had to discuss every topic under the sun. The other thing that was interesting about it is a bit of a love story toward self-publishing. There's no doubt in my mind that this book is self-published by Marianne McFadden. The publisher is listed as 3 Women Press. I'm guessing this is Marianne McFadden and a couple of her friends. The book was published in November 2022 after 10 years. It was a republishing. And it has about 350 pages. So there's a lot there. But it was also very meta, which I found a little disconcerting. So you've got a writer who is writing a self-published book. She's written a self-published book. She's trying to get it out into the world. At the same time, she's writing a second book, and that second book is a reflection of everything that's going on in her life currently. So the relationship that she's having, the struggles that she's experiencing, the people that she's meeting, they're all in this second book. Well, I also suspect that Marianne McFadden may have experienced a lot of the things that this writer has experienced. So you've got Marianne McFadden writing a book about a writer who's writing a book about herself. And there was just something about that I was like, I don't know. I'm just not sure about this. I think that if you like a quiet story about bookstores, about publishing, about writers, there's a lot to recommend about this book. But if you need it to stay focused, if you need a single storyline or not a lot of tangents happening during the story, this may not be the book for you. It was a 3-star read for me. I finished it. I enjoyed parts of it. I just felt like it could have been trimmed down by about 50, 60 pages of extra story that maybe you could mention, but I didn't need to fully explore. So that is The Book Lover by Marianne McFadden. I hope that some of you will decide to give it a try, and you can let me know what you think, if your opinions match mine, or if you see it completely differently than I do. So this second book that I want to talk about is Spells for Forgetting. It came to me as a recommendation from my friend Heather Snedeker-Morshek on my Facebook post at the end of the year, looking for 24 books to read in the year 2023. So this came highly recommended by Heather, and it was the first book that was recommended to me on that post, and so the first one that I undertook this year. I'm really glad that I did. As I said, I would give this book 4 stars. I loved it. I would recommend it to just about anybody. I think that there are redeeming qualities for this book for both men and women. I think that younger people would enjoy this book and older people could enjoy this book for a variety of reasons, which I'll get into. But I think that this book is a good fit across the board for most readers. It is magical realism. We follow 4 characters. So we follow Emery, August, Dutch, and Lily, who initially are high school students. And it is the night of their graduation. We find out pretty early in the book that Lily is killed. She dies the night of her graduation, and there is a fire in the orchard that is, the most important part of the economy on Saoirse Island. So Saoirse Island is where they live. It is in the northwestern United States, up above like Portland and Seattle. And at the time that Lily is killed, everybody believes that August did it. Now, August is in love with Emery. August and Emery are in love. They're inseparable. They are high school students and they have been smitten with each other for years. Nothing is going to come between them, except that this island is so small that August, even though he was not convicted of Lily's death, cannot get away from the stares and the whispers and the anger and ire of the people on the island who believe that he killed Lily. So his mother takes him and they leave Saoirse Island, on the ferry, and change their names and go to live somewhere in Oregon. Now, Emery spends a lot of her life looking for August, trying to find him. And 25 years later, we are introduced back into Emery and August's lives. Emery is now in a relationship with Dutch. So if you remember, I said Emery, August, Lily, and Dutch. Lily gets killed. Everybody believes August did it. Emery, 25 years later, is now in a relationship with Dutch, but she's never given up on August. August comes back to the island because his mother has passed away, and she left in her will a desire that her ashes be buried on Saoirse Island. The whole sort of plot of the book is about this magical realism that takes place on the island. The women are witch-like. They practice magic. They have spell books and teas, and they read the tea leaves, and they use all the herbs in the apothecary to do different things. So there's very much a witchy sort of magical spirit across this island. And Eloise, August's mom, wants to be buried back on Saoirse Island. So he comes back to Saoirse Island after all these years. And the story is really about what happens both between him and Emery, between him and the community that is still there and still believes that he killed Lily, between him and Dutch, and then basically just how this all unfolds. So there's a mystery here. Who really did kill Lily? Was it August? Was it Dutch? Was it Emery? Was it someone else completely? How do we figure this out? On the night that Lily was killed, there was also this fire in the orchard. Where did that come from? And what relationship does that have to Lily's death? So there are lots of pieces and parts here that you can pull apart and watch this story unfold. So I really enjoyed the characters. I thought they were believable, even as very young people. The way that they hung out at the beach and smoked weed and had parties, and the four of them were always together. I really believed these characters and their relationships. And then I also believed them when they were older. I believed what happened to Emery as she longed for August to come back and couldn't find him as a young woman, and why she decided to stay on Saoirse Island and ended up with Dutch, and then, what happens when August returns. I also believed the characters in the community. Despite the fact that there's magical realism here, I found the whole story very believable. I think that there are still probably people who believe in magic, who have, a magical belief system and do things like read tea leaves and have spell books and things like that. And this was about a very insular community where these people all live together, know each other's business, have been in each other's lives, the families for generations, and the sort of historical magical belief system that they have. So you will be intrigued to find out what happened to Lily, what happened with the fire in the orchard, and what's going to happen with Emery and August. It was definitely worth the read, and worth going through the 350 pages. I was happy to have done it. So thank you, Heather, for that recommendation, and thank you for listening to me tonight. I hope that you heard something in one of these books that will spark your interest, and that you will have another book on your TBR after watching this video. So I hope to see you again soon, and have a great night.
Thank you for watching No Shelf Control with Shannon. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Take it off the shelf and let's get